Well, hello everyone, Texie88 here and welcome to my latest video. And now we're taking a look at Eureka Entertainment's 4K Ultra HD UK release of the Police Story Trilogy, which contains the 1985, 1988 and 1992 films Police Story, Police Story 2 and Police Story 3 Super Cop, respectively. Now, I'm not going to go into huge detail about the first and second ones because I've already covered that kind of thing in my similar review of their limited edition Blu-ray box set that came out a few years ago. But at the time of recording this video, which is on the 17th of October 2022, it's been just under a month since this particular 4K Ultra HD box set came out, and at the time of writing it's still available, but you really got to be quick if you want to get it because this is limited edition. I expect there'll be a manila version released afterwards, but there'll be some things that are unique to this that are not going to be in those, should that be the case. Now, those Chinese characters there are Gingchagusi, which literally translates to police story from what I can make out. And one thing I will say is I am extremely impressed with what Eureka have done with the 4K remasters. They look and sound absolutely fantastic, especially considering back in the day Hong Kong movies were not necessarily preserved in quite the same way that their Hollywood movies would have been. Quite often, my understanding is they were just left on a shelf to rot at the best of times. So to even get them in a presentable format, never mind getting them looking and sounding as good as they do in this, is just phenomenal. And of course, the first film in particular is a cast iron classic, and especially in these days of computer generated imagery, CGI, and other such gubbins, there's just a certain rawness and emotional charge to it that it's very unlikely we'll ever see in cinema again. And it really is a sad loss because, well, anyone who's seen it knows what I mean. Anyone who hasn't seen it, definitely worth a look. So there are the three cases, as you can see, as per previous limited edition thing. There's a booklet. Now, the booklet is actually an amalgamation of the same wording that came with the Police Story and Police Story 2 booklets that accompanied the previously available limited edition Blu-ray box set that I reviewed a couple of years ago. But then this one also includes Police Story 3 Super Cop, which was called Gingchagusi Sam Chui Cop Gingcha in Cantonese. Apologies if I got the tones or pronunciation incorrect, but now I'm going to go into Police Story 3 Super Cop a bit more, because obviously that wasn't in the box set that I reviewed previously. But what I do know is that Police Story 3 Super Cop was also released in a limited edition regular Blu-ray set. Well, not set, but regular Blu-ray release. And as far as I know, that's still available at the time of recording this video. And what's in the booklet for that particular film matches exactly what's in the booklet that's specifically about that film in the Blu-ray release of just the third film by itself. And as you can see, the book itself is really quite thick. Because it's covering 3 books, and it's got usual pictures and so forth. And in terms of the Police Story 3 Super Cop, which was also the comeback film for Michelle Yeoh, who at the time of recording this is probably had recently appeared in Everything Everywhere All at Once. And as you can see, it's got got the original Hong Kong theatrical cut, and there's also the 1996 alternate US version, which was truncated by a number of minutes, and also had its soundtrack completely changed. And in the terms of that particular US version, it actually had Jackie Chan, Michelle Yeoh and Maggie Cheung dubbing their own voices in English. But while we're on about the about the use of own voices, it's worth pointing out that Police Story 3 Super Cop was actually the first Hong Kong release to be in sync sound. So rather than being recorded and having for the most part dedicated voice actors to each actor or actress doing their voices in dubbing sessions later to cater for the different markets, such as those speaking Cantonese and those speaking Mandarin, and as well as later releases in other languages. But this is the first time that people in Hong Kong and other parts of Asia were actually hearing the real voices of Jackie and the real voice of Michelle Yeoh and Maggie Cheung and so forth. I mean, one notable exception is that Bill Tung actually is one of the few times that he came back and actually dubbed his own voice, even for the non-sync sound shop ones. The reason being, it's explained in the new audio commentaries that are in this, that Bill Tung was famous for commentating on horse racing, and he had such a recognisable voice that it would have been very glaringly obvious to local audiences in Hong Kong that it was someone else doing his voice, because they would have been so used to what his voice sounds like. It was only fitting that Bill Tung dub his own character. And yes, there are two audio commentaries for each of the three films, even for the first and second Police Stories, whereas the previous Blu-ray release that covered the first two films didn't have any audio commentaries of this ilk, so that is a big bonus as well. And the audio, and in all three cases, one audio commentary is by Frank Jen and F.J. DeSanto, and the other is by Mike Leader and Arne Venema. And both of them are entertaining in their own way. Though in some ways I prefer, in some ways I personally prefer those that have the involvement of Frank Jen, but you might prefer those by Venema and Leader. I mean, those are still very entertaining, but I just personally prefer the ones that have the involvement of Frank Jen. And you don't need me to tell you that Police Story was massively influential, and I still think it, even though the fashion may have dated, and of course those massive brick mobile phones, the action and the action and stunts are still as exciting and brutal now as they ever were. And if you haven't already got the existing Blu-ray version, and are interested in getting all three of these films, then what better time to get it than now, especially as this was actually reported as being the 16th best-selling physical home format release throughout September, and that was for a release that didn't occur until the closing stages of September. I think the Blu-ray release of Super Cop by itself was actually at something like position 34, something like that. I know it's 30 something. But But these really are incredible movies. Although admittedly some of the comedy in the first one might be a bit broad, it's still worth sitting through it, because it actually plays a part in building up the tension for when it goes a bit more dramatic later on. So anyway, that's anyway, that's my take on the 4K Ultra HD versions of the first 3 police story movies. And I was actually lucky enough to see these at the Prince Charles Cinema in London on the 8th of September on the big screen with an audience, and that alone whetted my appetite for this then upcoming release, which was about 2.5 weeks away at the time. And especially getting to see these classics on the big screen with an audience that laughed and winced at the crazy stunts and painful blows and so forth, and even cheered and clapped at certain points. Oh, that's an experience I hope I never forget. But yeah, so anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and hope to catch you on another video soon. Taxi88 out.